India hosted the mega G20 Summit over the weekend. A lot of outcomes. With me is India Sherpa to the G20, Amitabh Kant, who played an important role, a pivotal role. So my first question to you is, how significant was the moment of India hosting the summit and giving direction to many issues that the world is grappling with?
No, I think it's a very, very important and a very key moment in India's history. I think what India has demonstrated is its great ability to bring developed world, the emerging markets, Russia, China all together and arrive at a consensus on all developmental issues and on all geopolitical issues. So all 83 paras, no footnote, no chair summary, no brackets, full consensus. Only India could have done it, no other country. And India has done it because it has a leader of the stature of the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. Because of his standing and his stature, we could really take it forward vigorously.
How was India able to bring the consensus? This is something that we all would like to know.
So, by the time we got into the final round of Sherpa negotiations, that is starting on the 3rd, we had still many challenges. You know, we had a challenge on climate, we had a challenge on energy, we had several challenges on the finance track also. Some footnotes were there. But I think the real key challenge was the geopolitical issue. So we sorted out one by one. We sorted out climate, we sorted out energy. Then we had the joint meeting with finance. We sorted out all their issues. But from 4th morning, we had started discussing the geopolitical issues. We started on a clean slate by spelling out the principles and laying them down clearly. And then getting everybody else to give their principles. And we drafted several drafts. And then on that para itself, we must have spent about close to over 200 hours, just that one para.
On the Ukraine
On
para?
the Russia-Ukraine. Okay. We spent about, that's written out as 8 paras with the Prime Minister's today's era is not an era of war as the last para, a one-line para. But we must have spent over 200 hours non-stop, 24/7 without sleeping, just discussing that para, having over about close to 300 odd bilateral meetings, many 15, 16 drafts of it. But we managed to bring everybody together. We managed to bring the right balance between all countries, the developed and the emerging markets. We worked with Brazil, we worked with South Africa, we worked with Indonesia, all together on this, and we finally managed to just say that this is it, this is the best paragraph, this is the best draft we can possibly bring in, which brings the best balance amongst all countries for that. And it's a strong, some people are saying it's a dilution on Bali. I do not agree. It's a very strong para because it recalls Bali. It brings in the national positions. It reiterates the UN resolutions on this issue and then clearly says that there will be no territorial acquisition. It brings out the UN principles on territorial integrity, on sovereignty, on political independence. All of that very strongly. So it's a very strong para.
Role played by the developing countries, you just mentioned India, Indonesia, Brazil, South Africa, all who are going to host the summit. Indonesia, India have already hosted a summit. So role played by these countries.
Very important, very critical, because India worked with Brazil and South Africa. We later brought in Indonesia. All 4 of us worked together. But we were fully backed by Saudi Arabia, by Mexico, by Argentina, and by Turkey. All. So about 8 countries there. And that led to China supporting this. Because once they realized that there are 8 countries working together, China also supported. And we knew all the red lines of all the G7 countries. We worked with them as well. We convinced them that this is the best thing. It's a win-win for everyone. G7 has won. Russia has won in this. Emerging markets have won. Everyone has won this. And we've brought multilateralism center stage. We brought development center stage. We've said that the priorities of the emerging markets and the developing countries are really about development and growth. We brought that center stage.
But it's seen as the West has taken a step back. It's not it's okay with no condemnation of Russia in the statement.
But it has very strong language, let me tell you. This is a mistaken notion. Where did Bali say that there will be no territorial acquisition? Did the Bali language say that there will be territorial integrity? Did the Bali language talk about sovereignty? Did the Bali language talk about political independence? No. We've brought all these principles back in this. We recall Bali here. We reiterate our national positions, and yet we say this. This was never there in Bali. It's a far more stronger statement than Bali.
You mentioned China as well. At any point, it tried to sabotage the conversation?
No, China worked with us. Once emerging markets were together, China worked with us. And let me tell you very clearly that China is a multilateral player. It may have bilateral issues, but it is a multilateral player on a multilateral forum. It worked together with us. They had many issues with us earlier. They had many issues, but later we worked together. Once they realized that we are working for the good of G20, for the good of emerging markets, they supported us on all issues. They supported us on women development, on life, on Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and they supported us on all growth and developmental issues.
Prime Minister, his intervention, how did it help? He also came here at Sushma Swaraj Bhavan and met everyone. If you can talk about that as well, sir.
No, Prime Minister has been the key factor. This is Prime Minister's G20. He's the leader. His stature, standing is the key. I'm only his Sherpa. I could not have succeeded without the strength of the Prime Minister. And therefore, all credit goes to him because he led from the front. I could believe that I could take a strong, courageous stand because my Prime Minister is strong. And therefore, I could fall back on him whenever required. And that was done. Whenever required, Prime Minister came to my help.
Sir, how will history remember the Delhi G20 Summit, how pivotal it was?
So Delhi, I think history will remember as one of the greatest diplomatic victories for India. It's a vote for multilateralism, it's a vote for development, it's a vote for growth, it's a vote for women-led development, it's a vote for human-centric growth, it's a vote for inclusiveness, it's a vote for bringing development center stage, and it's really a vote for India, and India under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi.
So my last question, I know you still have a packed schedule. Now we are part of the Troika. Our presidency gets over in November. As part of the Troika, how will we help spread the gains made here in Delhi to the other presidencies?
So first of all, let me say that the Prime Minister wants a virtual meet later. Therefore, we have to start working on actually moving forward the implementation from our side. Many key areas where we need to push our implementation with other countries as well as within our ministries. So we started work on that already. So Prime Minister is given us some tasks. We'll have to prepare for that and then prepare for the virtual summit which he wants to host in November.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION. I know it must be very hectic for you and perhaps you will take a break at some point.
But let me just conclude by saying that I've got all the support from the Prime Minister has led from the front, which gave us the strength because he had his vision. We could fulfill his vision of delivering this. So because of a strong leadership, we could do this. I've also got a lot of support, a lot of wisdom, a lot of guidance from the External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar. He's been a big source of constant support and motivation for us, and he's provided us a lot of guidance throughout.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much, sir.